Hi friends, welcome to the Share, Invite, and Proclaim channel. My name is Judy. The topic for today is about pride and humility, and they are opposites, like two sides of a coin. Well, I've been mistaken. I've been fooled into believing that pride is not a sin. Let me give you an example from the Old Testament. Uzziah was 16 years old when he became king of Judah, and in his early days, he received good counsel. And as he began to get older, he became an empire builder. He fortified Jerusalem. He had 300,000 plus men in his army. He supplied them very well. He was a good general. He gave them armaments. He gave them spears and bows and arrows and all the things that were needed during that time period. But at some point in his adult life, because of all of his success, he became so wealthy that he thought that he could do anything. So he did the one thing that he wasn't supposed to do. He went to the temple, and he got tired of waiting for the priest to arrive. So he took it upon himself to burn incense on the altar. When the 80 priests arrived in the sanctuary and saw what he had done, they said, "Get out of here. You've sinned. God will not honor you." And what was his reaction? He was enraged. He didn't ask for forgiveness. He didn't try to explain anything. He was enraged because somebody called him out on something that he should not have done. He didn't want to have any boundaries at all. Well, what was, pride obviously was blinding his eyes and controlling his actions. Well, what did God do in response to this? Well, God struck Uzziah on the forehead with leprosy that lasted his entire life. Well, how did this pride slip up on Uzziah? Well, he stopped confessing his sins and asking for forgiveness of those sins. He thought he could not sin. He became so self-centered and felt that he could do anything he wanted with no consequences. Well, in the New Testament, in Matthew 23, Jesus talked about the pride of the scribes and Pharisees, and he became very specific of the things that they did that showed pride. They loved to be called rabbi. They loved to have the most important seats in the sanctuary or at a banquet. They wanted to be noticed by men. They would stand on the street corners and say long prayers that sounded so good. They said what to do, but they didn't do it themselves. They were hypocrites. Jesus called them fools and blind men. Jesus said that they look clean on the outside, but inside they are full of hypocrisy and lawlessness. So I get confused. Can I not be proud of my family, my country, my church, my faith? Can I be 50% proud and still be okay? Can pride be divided into good and bad? Well, definition of pride, it means self-centeredness and a desire to elevate oneself to be highly valued by others, a desire to have a position of authority. J. Lanier Burns talks about pride and humility at war. And he says that the world has persuaded us that pride is natural and that we think of ourselves in terms of our superiority over others, and our agenda is to control them to our advantage. Well, greed, disobedience, envy, self-assertion, self-sufficiency, self-accomplishment, and success and envy. Those are things that he would say are types of pride. Well, we can certainly see this in the business world with everyone trying to get ahead by any means possible, and perhaps also in the political world. Now, Stuart Scott, in his little book called From Pride to Humility, A Biblical Perspective, he gives us some self-assessments. I like self-assessments, but he gives us self-assessments and a chart to rate our pride and also to rate our humility. He'll give, and the first one, he gives us 30 statements that would determine if our self-righteousness is pride. He gives us a scale of 0 to 5, 0 being not an issue, and then seldom an issue, or sometimes an issue, or often an issue, a major issue, or a life-dominating issue in my life. So you rate these statements on a scale like that. And then you add up the points and, you find out how much pride is in your life. Scott also goes on to promote the idea that a righteous form of pride exists. He uses the example of Paul boasting of the Corinthians to Titus because God was willing and working in their lives. Also in Romans 15, Paul was proud of the work that God had accomplished in and through him towards the Gentiles. Some examples that Scott uses, he would say righteous pride is, I'm proud of what God is doing in and through you. I'm proud of you for how you are using the talents and gifts that God has given to you. In other words, pride that is okay is expressing our thankfulness to God. When I think about these two authors, I'm left with the idea that maybe pride is even on a continuum. But this is why I get confused. Is this correct? Let me give you a personal example. In the mid-1980s, I started a child care learning center in Longwood, Florida, First Baptist Church, Longwood, Florida. And in spite of all the difficulties, I was able to start this daycare learning center within 6 months. So you think about knowing nothing about starting a daycare center. What does the state require? What does the city require? All of the requirements of that, plus deciding on a curriculum, hiring teachers, setting up the payment plans, and figuring out all the ins and outs and the space used. So it was intense. Spent maybe 60 plus hours each week for those 6 months trying to get this started by the regular school year. Now, Mr. Burns would say that my pride in accomplishing this task and its success, it's still operating very well today, is sinful. Now, Stuart Scott would say that my pride is okay because I had got strength, his stamina, his perseverance to accomplish what God wanted. If I say I'm happy or glad or satisfied that the center was started and still in operation today, is that still pride? Well, maybe it will all make sense if I look at humility. Humility is the opposite of pride. It is God-centeredness. Paul gives us a good definition in Romans 12. I appeal to you, brothers, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God. So a humble person acknowledges personal limitations and seeks the strength of the Lord in the circumstances. Jesus taught about humility as he related it to childlike submission to God. Humility is a willingness to serve without reservation. Burns would say that humility leads to godly living. Scott provides a list or a self-inventory of 24 characteristics of humility. And again, we rate ourselves on a scale of 0 to 5. For example, he says a humble person looks for ways to serve and assist others. So you rate yourself on whether it's not present, seldom present, sometimes present, often present, regularly present, or predominantly present. And then totaling up those points would tell me how humble I am. Perhaps I can solve my dilemma by saying I'm thankful to God for my family. I'm thankful to God for my country. I'm thankful to God for my career because it helped me support my daughter and myself. I'm thankful for my church. Anything that I have done that is fruitful is due to God's activity in my life. God gets the glory. Unfruitfulness is due to my own sinfulness. Well, after reflecting on this topic, I'm going to side with Burns that pride is always sinful. But where did it come from? Well, it came from Satan. Satan wanted to be like God. He wanted people to worship him. And because of that pride, he was kicked out of heaven. Happiness or thankfulness should be my choice of words instead of pride. I'm happy that the daycare center is still operating and serving the community with loving Christian care for their children. I'm thankful that God gave me the stamina, the knowledge, the perseverance and accomplishment that only he could do in my circumstance. I'm thankful God provided a teaching position for me, a job that I enjoyed, and a way to support myself and my family. What has been your experience? Do you see pride as a sin? Do you think of yourself as a humble person? Tell me your opinion about pride and humility. Thanks for watching.